Hi, my name is Paul Friedman. I'm the founder of the Marriage Foundation. This topic is a question. Why is my wife so distant? And this is an important question, and I think that I can offer to you something that is going to be life-changing, definitely change your marriage. But I want to urge you to not treat this like other YouTube videos where you go to find something and you get like a little key, a little component to what it is that you're missing in something. You apply it and you're off and running. We have many subscribers, and you should become one too, because the truth is that people don't know how to be married. There is so much misinformation. We had, and people can write in for help to our counselors, and if you want to do that, it's a free service. And so someone wrote in today and said, I've been following your videos, and I don't want to stuff my emotions. And the counselor wrote back very appropriately and said, it is not a matter of stuffing your emotions. It's about choosing those thoughts and feelings that you're going to entertain or discard, because we don't have this respect for the mind the way Western psychology does. We don't recognize that the mind is anything more than a tool. It is a computer that you're given. It does analysis, it does evaluations, it screens things, it filters things. It's a tool. But we become dependent on it because of the software called habit, and we stop running our mind. We become run by our minds. And one of the key components that we promote, and in fact in our course for men, which is when your marriage is really in trouble, you take the course for men, and it's twofold. One is learning all about marriage, which you have to admit you had no idea what marriage was, and the proof is in the pudding. And the second part is mastering your mind, which is something no one ever talks about. We're not taught, and it literally should be taught to every human being growing up, and we're not. So why is my wife so distant? I don't think I got off on a tangent. I really want to hold your attention so I can help you. So what does that actually mean? It means you don't feel that love anymore. Now I'm an old guy, there used to be this song, you've lost that love and feel, and that's what you're feeling now, is this missing connection, this missing part of your marriage that is almost the reason you got married. You fell in love with your wife. What really happens is we meet our soulmates, we fall in love. It's not an infatuation. It's a meeting of someone who you've known for many, many incarnations, and now you get to rebuild on your past experiences together in marriage, like the holiest of holy entities, two people. And I define it this way. It's two people on an individual spiritual path who are doing the spiritual path together. I call it a spiritual path because love is spiritual. Love is why you got married. Joy, happiness are the desires that you had to come out of your marriage. We never talk about that because the world is all stuck on solving problems and intellectualizing things, and they're afraid of anything spiritual. They think there's going to be a religious thing shoved down your throat. I don't do religion. Love is love. And God is God. He doesn't need a religion. And marriage doesn't need a religion. Marriage needs two people who understand marriage. Or at least one of you needs to understand marriage. And at least one of you needs to understand how to master your mind so that you can regain that connection. The distance is a feeling that you have of disconnection. The disconnection exists because you're distracted, and now you're freaking out, which is another distraction. And you're going to say, hey, I just want to know what to do. And I'm going to tell you straight out, it is not that simple. I cannot tell you do A, B, C, D. I can tell you to do these two things, and you will definitely regain your connection, and in ways you never imagined. Number one, learn how to master your mind. And what that means is that you are now in charge of how your mind is behaving even before it acts out. So you're probably someone who will call your wife on something. You can't do that. That's not an act of love. That's not an act of connection. You may complain to her. That's not an act of love. So you're not even watching your mind behave outside of the paradigm of your feelings of love for your wife. Your mind is doing its own thing. So you have to master your mind. And it's not that simple. You have to learn how. And we teach that in a course for men. We teach that. It's critical. It's important. You have to have that or you can't feel happiness. Now, the second thing is you don't know how to be married. You weren't taught. It's not your fault. It's no one's fault. The world is where the world is at. But there are protocols in marriage. There's things you should do. There's things you shouldn't do. All the time. This is on the other side when women write in and they go, I caught my husband using porn and I let him know that this is not okay. She broke a rule, a cardinal rule. You don't confront. Now, you can't go to your wife and tell her, oh, you can't confront me. That's confrontation too. So there's a lot to learn about both. I cannot give you a do this, do that in this video. Please don't ask me to. I would be an idiot, a fool, an a-hole. If I even attempted to, I would be indeceptive because you're not going to get it just from doing what I tell you in one video. Now, you definitely should be a subscriber so you learn more and more about marriage. But you might be thinking, and you might be thinking correctly, that your marriage is now on a slide. Because if your wife is distant from you, if she's pulling out, now is the time to act. And it means using the course for men. Yet at a minimum, some people do this. They go, yeah, he's just trying to sell the course. It's way expensive. I'll just get his book. Okay, get the book. It's a start. It won't do it, but at least you'll start getting a taste of our sincerity, that we're not here to take your money. We're here to help you. And you will realize that we also have something no one else has. We absolutely know what we're talking about. I know. I used to be a divorce mediator. I was. Over 20 years ago, I was good. And I worked in an area, I worked in San Diego. I made good money. A lot more than I made helping people with their marriages, but there's a karmic thing to consider, and I didn't want to help people get a divorce anymore. I know that most marriages can be saved, and yours can too, and it needs saving. It doesn't need a minor tweak, a little adjustment. It needs to be turned into what marriage is intended to be, which is this entity filled with joy, filled with love. But you got to know how. Okay? I'm sorry I have to be so tough. I don't mean to be. It's hard to be inspiring because I know how the mind works. I'm the same way. Someone tells me, oh, you need this. And I go, yeah? There must be a way around it. Well, I can tell you right now, my way around it, when I chose to help people with their marriages, there was no way of finding out how to help people with their marriages because all the people who were, quote unquote, helping people with their marriages were messing them up. You go to a traditional marriage counselor, marriage therapist, I don't care what you call them, they're going to make things worse. They're going to ask you about your childhood. They're going to ask you about your siblings. They're going to ask you about what you're fighting over. And it's nonsense. You want to improve things. You don't need to go backwards. You're not going to fix it by seeing one thing at a time. You got to refashion your marriage into what it's intended to be. It's intended to be an entity of joy and love. Don't forget that. So I'll tell you one thing. Watch your mouth. Watch your tongue. Don't say anything that is not going to produce joy and love. It's really that simple. It's like simple like the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not. But that's the truth. If you only say things that are filled with love and joy, and it can't be phony. You can't just make it up on the spot to cover up for your thinking. You can't do that. That doesn't work. I don't have to tell that to women so much, but women are hyper intuitive. They'll know. I mean, how many times have you been caught? They know. They can feel you because they have that heart thing going. We don't. So it's more difficult for us, but it still has to be done. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to keep getting internally distracted more and more. I think I've shared with you what I believe will work for you. The reason why your wife is so distant is because you have not been cultivating the love and the joy in your marriage. It's that simple. That's it. Why didn't you say that in the first place? Because it wouldn't have done any good. That's why. You needed to hear all this if you stuck this out with me. Now, if you've been following because you like this stuff, and we get a lot of comments from people. Now, I'm going to be honest. We get comments from people who go, oh yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Where's your psychotherapeutic education? I don't have any. I don't have any. This stuff is nonsense as far as I'm concerned. To me, it's as primitive as when they thought that the universe revolves around the earth. It just doesn't make any sense because it doesn't include love. So how could you be working on your marriage when you don't focus on love and joy? So if you have been following and you're really into this stuff and you want to become, maybe you're a therapist already, or you're clergy, or whatever has drawn you, but you want to become a TMF marriage counselor, we want you. We're going to start this whole new aspect of our business. I'm starting to create a TMF counseling course, and check us out for that. So in the meantime, God bless you. Thank you. I really appreciate your listening to me go on and on. I know I do sometimes. Thank you. God bless you, and take care.